Her true story from Nevada. My son and his wife kicked me out after winning $17 million 0 cents, but they never checked the name on the ticket. They toasted their luck, I cashed the truth. Ma, what the hell do you think you're doing? You're like a festering sore in this house. If you keep buying that crap, pack your things and get out of here. No one wants you anymore. That was the voice I heard before my coffee had even cooled. My son, my only son, stood over me like I was some stray dog he had just caught chewing on the rug. His wife Dana leaned against the kitchen counter behind him, arms folded, eyes narrowed like knives. She did not say a word. She never did. Not out loud, anyway. Her judgments came in cold glances, clenched lips, the way she moved the dinner plates, just out of my reach when I offered to help wash. I looked down at my lap. The scratch-off ticket I had just bought from the gas station 2 blocks over sat unfolded on the kitchen table. A harmless thing, really. A $5 habit. I never spent more than that. I never expected much from it either. Just the ritual of it. The little rush of maybe, of what if. Some people knit, some do crosswords. I scratch lottery tickets. That was all. I bought it with my own money, I said quietly. From the jar. The jar? Ryan scoffed. That's the grocery jar. That's not your money. You do not have money, Ma. We pay the bills, we feed you. You live here for free, remember? That word, free, it hit like a slap across the face. Free. As if the years I spent working double shifts in a diner while raising him alone after his father died too young in a mining accident meant nothing. As if the savings I handed over to help them with the down payment on this very house never happened. As if the mornings I walked Lily, our granddaughter, to school while they slept in, or the nights I stayed up holding her through fevers, were just background noise in the story of their lives. I don't think a $5 ticket. It is not about $5, he shouted. It's about respect. You do not get to act like a teenager living here. You're 72, Ma. Scratch-offs? Seriously? Grow up. Dana finally chimed in, her voice as sweet as antifreeze. We're just saying, maybe it's time you find a new routine, something less embarrassing. I swallowed the bile rising in my throat, my fingers curled around the edge of the table. I felt small, invisible, like wallpaper in my own life. I wanted to tell them what the ticket meant, that when I bought it that morning, the woman at the register smiled and asked if I wanted the usual, that it was my one moment of recognition in a world that barely saw me anymore, that the sound of the coin scratching paper felt like control in a life where everything else had slipped away. But I said nothing. I folded the ticket gently, slipped it back into the front pocket of my cardigan. Ryan rolled his eyes so hard I could hear the judgment crack through his skull. "Don't say we didn't warn you," he muttered, and walked off. Dana followed. The conversation, like me, was dismissed. I sat alone at the kitchen table for a long time. The same table where I used to feed Ryan oatmeal and sing to him when he was little. The same chair I once sat in while sewing patches onto his jeans because we could not afford new ones. Now I was a burden, a joke, a sore. I looked around the house. The living room with the TV I helped pay for, the nursery I helped paint when Dana was too pregnant to climb ladders, the garden I tended because no one else wanted to pull weeds. All of it said home, but none of it felt like mine anymore. I stood up, walked to the front porch. The Nevada sun was hot, even in the early morning. I needed air. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the ticket. It was a $17 million 0 cents jackpot game, the kind with shiny red letters and a small box at the bottom that read, "Sign your ticket upon purchase to protect your claim." And I had, like I always did. My name, in small shaky letters, was already there on the back. Evelyn J. Warren. Ballpoint pen, dated this morning. I had not even scratched it yet. My hands moved slowly, carefully, like I was diffusing a bomb. First number, 7. Second, 13. Third, 21. I kept scratching, the symbols aligned, my breath caught in my throat. Then I saw it. The numbers matched. The prize box revealed a row of zeros that did not end. $17 million. I stared at the ticket for a long time, longer than I probably should have, not because I was unsure, but because I was suddenly more sure than I had ever been in my life. I did not scream, I did not cry. I simply folded the ticket again, carefully, like it was something sacred, and I slipped it into a sealed envelope inside my purse. The rest, I knew, would come later. But in that moment, standing alone on the porch of the house I had helped build, called unwanted in my own family, I felt something strange. Not revenge, not rage, just clarity. They thought they were lucky, but they never looked at the name on the back. They toasted their win. But I held the truth, and I knew, for the first time in a long while, exactly what to do with it. The next morning, I left the winning ticket tucked safely in my purse and went about my day as if nothing had changed. I swept the kitchen, watered the potted basil by the window. I even smiled politely when Dana walked past me without so much as a nod, but I did not tell them. I was not ready. That afternoon, while folding laundry in the back room, I realized I had left another ticket, the one I scratched and signed the day before, at the bottom of the wicker basket I kept by the pantry. A habit. I often kept the ones that did not win, just in case. I figured I might enter some second-chance raffle or tear them up later for recycling. It was harmless clutter, so I reached into the basket, parting layers of folded kitchen towels and socks, and felt around. Empty. The ticket was gone. At first I thought maybe I had tossed it absent-mindedly, or that it had gotten swept up in the trash. I opened the waste bin beneath the sink. Nothing but used paper towels and banana peels. I checked the side counter, checked under the basket. Nothing. I stood there a long while, fingers gripping the edge of the counter, a quiet unease blooming in my stomach. I did not say anything that evening. I made dinner, meatloaf, mashed potatoes, peas, like I always did. I set the table. I served Ryan first, then Dana, then Lily. They said thank you, distracted, scrolling through their phones. I sat at the far end, barely a presence. That night, I heard giggling from their bedroom, the muffled clink of glasses, a cork popping. The next morning, a delivery truck arrived. A man in a blue polo shirt wheeled out a large box onto the driveway. A flat-screen TV, 75 inches. Dana stepped outside in silk pajamas and signed the receipt like she had been doing it for years. By noon, another delivery came, then another. Bottles of imported wine, a designer handbag, new patio furniture. They never once mentioned the lottery. Not to me, but they celebrated. They toasted. They danced in the kitchen late at night when they thought I was asleep. I watched it all from the corner of the living room, knitting needles in hand, the same row of yarn looped over and over again, undone and redone like a nervous tick. Still, I said nothing. I wanted to believe they were just excited, that maybe they had bought a ticket of their own, that maybe this was something separate. But deep down, I knew. I knew because Dana left her phone on the table one afternoon while she ran to the garage, and the screen lit up with a message from her sister. $17.00, M. OMG, are you guys seriously not telling her? I didn't move. I didn't touch the phone. I didn't need to. The ache in my chest confirmed everything I suspected. They had found the ticket, they had claimed it, they were spending it, and I was no longer part of their story. 2 days later, I went out to pick up the mail. When I returned, my key didn't work. The lock had been changed. I knocked, confused. Ryan opened the door halfway, wouldn't meet my eyes. "Ma," he said, voice low, like he was rehearsing sympathy. "We just need space right now. With everything changing, it's getting kind of crowded here." "My things are inside," I said. "We put them on the porch," Dana called from somewhere behind him. And there they were, 2 suitcases, one plastic grocery bag filled with my shoes, and the wicker basket, empty. I didn't cry. Not then. I didn't raise my voice. I just picked up my things, one at a time, and walked to the curb. They didn't offer a ride, didn't offer money, didn't even offer a chair. Just a closed door, a party inside, and me on the outside again. The woman who raised him, the woman who tucked him in at night while working double shifts, the woman who made that house feel like a home. Now reduced to silence, to luggage, to a $5 scratch ticket they thought was forgotten. They toasted their luck, but they never once looked at the name on the back. The library smelled like dust and disuse, but it was warm and had free Wi-Fi. That was enough for now. I had nowhere else to go. They did not even wait for a full goodbye, just locked the door and pushed my life to the curb. I carried what I could and walked 3 blocks to the one place that had always offered quiet without judgment. The librarian recognized me. Her name was Angela. She offered me a nod, then returned to stamping returns. I sat near the window, plugged my phone into the charging station, and wrapped my coat tighter around my knees. The cold in my bones had nothing to do with weather. I did not have a plan yet. I had the truth, and that was a start. I pulled out my phone, a battered flip model I had refused to upgrade, much to Ryan's annoyance. "You still using that dinosaur?" he used to say, laughing like he was a man who had built something instead of inherited it. But I liked it. It was reliable. It remembered what I asked it to. I opened the photo gallery, scrolled past dozens of snapshots. Lily eating ice cream, the garden in bloom, a pie I baked last fall. Then I found it. A photo taken 3 mornings ago, the lottery ticket, flat on the counter of the gas station. I had snapped a picture before I scratched it, like I always did, a little ritual, a record, just in case. I zoomed in. The numbers were clear, the date, the store address, my full name, written in blue pen on the back. I took a deep breath and let it out slowly. They never even looked. I had signed the ticket as always. They must have assumed it was blank. They were so focused on the prize they forgot to check the truth. I opened my purse and pulled out the envelope, the actual ticket, the one they did not even realize I had kept. I compared it to the photo. Identical. My name. My win. My life. Not theirs. The idea of confronting them had crossed my mind, standing on the porch and slapping the ticket against the window, demanding they look at what they tried to steal. But no, that would turn into shouting, into excuses, into lies. Instead, I opened the library's browser and searched for the Nevada State Lottery Commission. I found the contact page, a hotline, an address, a section titled Lost or Disputed Claims. I dialed. The woman on the other end had a calm voice. She asked for my name, the game, the approximate time and place of purchase. I gave her everything, then offered to email the photo from my phone. She paused only once, then said, "If you have that image and the original ticket, please do not discard either. You'll need them for verification." I held the phone tighter. "So, it's not too late?" "Ma'am," she said gently, "if your name is on the ticket and you're the purchaser, it is yours. It does not matter who found it or who claimed it. The law protects the registered owner." I thanked her, wrote down the case number, and closed my phone. Then I walked to the gas station. It was only 6 blocks from the library, and the walk cleared my head. The cashier was a young man with messy hair and tattoos on his arms. I remembered his name from his tag. Danny. "Hey," I said, "do you remember me?" He squinted. "Yeah. You buy those wild 7S every Tuesday? You're the Daisy Sweater lady." I smiled, despite myself. "I need a copy of the camera footage from 3 days ago. Around 10:30 a.m. I bought a lottery ticket. I just need proof it was me." He hesitated. "You okay?" "Not really," I said, "but I'm working on it." He made a call to his manager, then printed me a still image from the security camera. It showed me, standing at the counter, wallet in hand, handing over a $5 bill. In the still, I looked tired, but present, real, a person. I took the photo, thanked him, walked back to the library. That evening, I emailed the image, the original ticket, and my ID to the Lottery Commission. An hour later, I received confirmation. "Your claim has been logged. Based on preliminary information, the ticket is valid and legally yours. Please await formal review." I stared at those words. Legally yours. I had no house, no bed, no family who wanted me, but I had the truth, and now the state had it too. 2 days after I submitted my documents, I received an email from the Nevada State Lottery. "Your identity has been verified. The ticket is officially registered under your name. You are eligible to claim the full amount as the rightful winner. Please visit the Carson City office to initiate processing." Anonymity options are available. I read it 3 times before I let the words sink in. Rightful winner. They had the numbers, I had the name, and now so did the state. I chose the senior privacy clause, a provision that allowed elderly claimants to remain anonymous if there was a potential risk of family exploitation. I did not need press. I did not need glory. I needed peace, and the law gave me that. Meanwhile, on their side of town, the walls were beginning to shake. That afternoon, I sat in the library window seat, sipping weak vending machine coffee, when my phone lit up. Dana, 6 missed calls, Ryan, 3 new messages. I opened the messages. Ma, did you find the ticket? We think it might have been yours. But it's no big deal, let's talk. This could be good for all of us. Let's just split it 50/50. We already called the lottery office. They said there's a conflict of claim. What did you do? I didn't reply. I just sat there, phone face down on the windowsill, as it buzzed again and again like a trapped wasp. They had gone to the office, fully expecting champagne and press cameras. But instead they were likely told, politely, professionally and immovably, that the ticket they held was invalid, that the prize had already been claimed, that the winner was not them, that the name belonged to someone else. I imagined their faces when it landed. Dana's outrage, barely masked by forced charm. Ryan's jaw clenched, ready to rage at the clerk as if yelling could rewrite the ink on the back of a lottery ticket. They had rehearsed their acceptance speech, but they never rehearsed humility. And now they were grasping at straws, begging through texts, backpedaling through voicemail. Dana left me a long message, her voice dripping sugar over barbed wire. I know we've had our differences, Evelyn, but think of Lily, think of family. This money doesn't have to be a wedge, it can be a bridge. Bridge? They had set fire to the whole house. Now they wanted to walk back in and ask for tea? I powered off the phone, let it ring into nothing, let them sit in silence for once, because I had no intention of going back. Not to that house, not to that kitchen, not to the woman who called me a sore, and the son who let her. The money was mine, but more than that, the truth was mine, and for the first time in years, I would not have to explain myself to anyone. It started with a post, Dana's profile picture, her head tilted just so, perfectly lit, appeared on my screen, even though I had never followed her. One of the library clerks had seen the post and called me over. "Is this about you?" she asked gently. The caption read, "Sometimes the people you trust the most will stab you in the back. We're heartbroken to say that Ryan's mother stole our winning lottery ticket. She took it right out of my purse. We tried to reason with her, but she's old, confused, and greedy. This was supposed to be for our daughter's future. Please pray for us." There were photos of them looking solemn on their porch, arms around Lily, like mourners at a funeral for fairness. It started with a post. Dana's profile picture, her head tilted just so, perfectly lit, appeared on my screen, even though I had never followed her. One of the library clerks had seen the post and called me over. "Is this about you?" she asked gently. The caption read, "Sometimes the people you trust the most will stab you in the back. We're heartbroken to say that Ryan's mother stole our winning lottery ticket. She took it right out of my purse. We tried to reason with her, but she's old, confused, and greedy. This was supposed to be for our daughter's future. Please pray for us." There were photos of them looking solemn on their porch, arms around Lily, like mourners at a funeral for fairness. Hashtags, elder abuse, lottery theft, family betrayal. And the comments came fast. Disgusting. How could a mother do that to her own son? Take her to court. She probably does not even remember what day it is. I stared at the screen, the coffee in my hand going cold. So that was their move? They had tried to take the money quietly, and when that failed, they came after my name. They expected silence, expected shame, but what they forgot was this. I had kept everything. That old phone I carried around like a relic, it had a better memory than either of them. That receipt I almost threw away, still folded in my purse. The ticket, still in the fireproof envelope the lottery office gave me, and the camera footage from the gas station, sitting neatly on a USB stick in the inside pocket of my cardigan. I took a breath. Then I walked to the front desk and asked to borrow a computer. I began compiling everything. First, the photo of the original ticket, signed by me. Then the camera still from the store, showing me buying it in full daylight. Next, my bank statement, confirming the $5.00 cash withdrawal at the exact time of purchase. I opened my text messages and scrolled through months of bile until I found one from Dana that read, "We've put up with your crap long enough. Maybe you can go find someone else to mooch off of." I screenshotted it. Then, I attached the official confirmation letter from the lottery office, stating clearly that I, Evelyn J. Warren, was the sole registered claimant and legal recipient of the $17 million, 0 cents prize. I packaged it all into a single PDF. Then I wrote a short, clear message. To whom it may concern, a false claim has been made against me. Here is the truth, backed by documentation, timestamps, and state certification. I have not spoken until now because I did not have to. But since they want to involve the world, let the world see everything. I sent it first to the local news outlet, the same one that ran stories about pie contests and county fair winners. I knew they loved a hometown scandal. Then I sent it to Emily Kwan, a journalist who ran a blog about elder abuse and family fraud. She had once written about a grandfather disowned after loaning his retirement to his daughter's business. That story had gone viral. I went home to the small studio I was renting behind a retired librarian's house. I made tea. I sat by the window and waited. It did not take long. That night the blog post went up. She was called a thief, but the receipts tell a different story. Screenshots included not just the documents, but photos of me standing alone at the gas station counter, holding the ticket, paying for it, signing it. Quiet, unassuming, real. Within 24 hours, the tone on social media shifted. The hashtags changed. Justice for Evelyn, receipts don't lie, she bought it, she won it. Commenters returned to Dana's post. You owe her an apology. So you tried to steal it. This is shameful. I hope she never speaks to you again. That woman raised you, and this is how you treat her? Someone even found a year-old comment thread where Dana had mocked me for knitting like a pioneer wife, calling it a waste of time for someone who doesn't pay rent. It was reposted. Circulated. Judgment returned to its rightful owners. By the end of the week, Dana had deactivated her account. Ryan locked his profile. Lily's name was removed from the About section, and I received a handwritten note in my mailbox. No return address, just one sentence, scribbled in uneven pen. You win. We're leaving Nevada. I folded the note and placed it next to the ticket, not out of sentiment, just as proof that the truth, when written clearly, cuts deeper than any lie. The article went further than I expected. By the third day, it had been shared over 60,000 times, not just locally, across the country. I started seeing my name mentioned in comment sections of family forums, elder advocacy sites, even a few news aggregators, with titles like Mother of the Year and You Won't Believe Who Actually Bought the Ticket. They called me the quiet winner. It made me smile. Not because I wanted fame, God knows I never cared for that, but because, after years of being told I was too quiet, too soft, too unnecessary, my silence had finally been heard. But while I sipped tea and read quietly from my borrowed tablet, a storm began to churn back at the house I used to live in. It started with the neighbors. The Johnsons down the street had hosted barbecues every month like clockwork. Dana used to bring her own condiments, always demanding aesthetic plates for her Instagram stories. Now, the invite list was suddenly adjusted. The neighborhood Facebook group, once filled with baby photos and lawn care tips, turned ice cold. Someone screenshotted the article and commented, I used to wave at Dana every morning. Now I double-check my door locks. Then came the school board. Lily's school had a very active parent group. Dana ran the committee for the spring fundraiser. The same day the article dropped, she was asked to temporarily step back. 2 days later, she was removed entirely. One of the parents, Melissa, a PTA veteran, posted on her personal account, We don't reward liars here. What example does that set for our kids? The last straw, though, came for Ryan. He worked in marketing for a mid-sized firm in Reno. I never fully understood what he did, something about branding, public outreach. What I did understand was that his entire job relied on perception, and now perception was poison. His company issued a statement. While we support our employees through personal challenges, we cannot endorse behavior that contradicts our values of honesty and integrity. Effective immediately, Ryan Warren is no longer affiliated with our firm. I read the statement twice. Then I folded it up and placed it in the same envelope where I kept my lottery confirmation letter. It was not joy I felt. Not exactly. But it was closure. The kind of weight that lifts, not with celebration, but with quiet, permanent release. The kind you feel when the last door you were waiting on finally shuts. Within a week, the house went up for sale. Within 2, the sign read, under contract. They disappeared, like they had never been there. Deleted their accounts, cut off old friends, even changed their phone numbers. They vanished so thoroughly it was as if they had never belonged to the same street, the same school, the same life. And still, I said nothing. Not to the press, though they asked. Not to the neighbors, though they whispered. Not even to Lily, who in all of this had been quiet as a bird in a storm, too young to understand, too small to defend anyone. Somewhere out there they would try again, rebuild, rebrand, pretend this never happened. But no matter where they went, the truth would follow them, not as a punishment, but as a record, a receipt. The world may forget, but the internet never does, and neither do mothers, especially the quiet ones. The house I bought was nothing fancy, a one-story bungalow on the edge of a sleepy town. White siding, a red mailbox, 2 front steps that creaked when it rained. But it had what I needed: space to breathe, sun in the morning, silence at night, and it was mine, paid in full, no mortgage, no landlord, no voices yelling down the hallway telling me I owed them for groceries while they plotted with glasses of wine and gleaming eyes. Just me, and the soft hum of a home that had no need to impress anyone. I moved in during early spring. The snow had just begun to give way to the thaw. Daffodils were poking through the front yard soil like they had been waiting for someone to come back. I planted herbs by the kitchen window: basil, rosemary, a little mint just for scent. I kept the old kettle, the one they said looked too poor for their countertops. It whistled in the mornings, just like it used to when Ryan was a boy and I'd make tea before the bus came. I found the perfect spot for my armchair, angled toward the window, with a view of the maple tree out front. I placed a knitted blanket over the back, folded just so. No one would scoff at it here. And on the wall above the small wooden side table, I hung a single photograph. It had been taken by the gas station clerk, Danny, on my second visit there, after the claim had been verified. He offered to snap it for me when he saw me checking the shelf again, looking half lost. "You want to remember this?" he asked, holding up his phone. I didn't pose, didn't smile too wide, just stood holding the ticket. The corner of my mouth curved slightly. Nothing showy, just quiet pride. In the frame, I looked older than I remembered, but also stronger, like someone who had walked through the fire and didn't smell like smoke. Beneath the frame, I placed a small plaque, handmade, just a piece of polished pine with words burned into it with an old wood-burning pen. They toasted their luck. I cashed the truth. I see it every morning now, and every time, it makes me stand a little straighter. Before I left the city, I made one stop: the library. I walked up to the front desk and handed Angela, the librarian, a folded check. "For repairs," I said, "or books, or heaters in the winter, whatever you need." She opened it, her eyes widening. "Evelyn, this is too much." "It's not enough," I said, and meant it. "This building gave me a place when no one else did. You didn't ask questions, you didn't laugh, you let me sit in the corner with dignity." She hugged me, tight and warm, the kind of hug that didn't expect anything back. Now, every time I pass a library, anywhere, I think of that day, of how small acts hold up the world. I never returned to my old neighborhood, never drove past the house, never checked if they moved far or just across town. It didn't matter. I had stopped looking for them in crowds. I had stopped hoping for a knock on the door, and I no longer mourned the silence, because this peace, it wasn't something I found. It was something I made, one stitch, one truth, one step at a time. The envelope came in spring. No return address, just my name, written in handwriting I had not seen in over a year, slanted, rushed, uneven. My son's hand. I stared at it for a long while before opening it. Not with fear, not even with anger, just a stillness. The kind that comes when you already know what is inside before you see the words. It was a letter, simple, no greeting, just a paragraph written in short, hesitant lines. "I've been thinking about everything, about what we did. I know it was wrong. Dana, she pushed me, but I let it happen. I wanted to win, and I forgot what really mattered. I miss you, Ma. I wish we could talk. I'm not asking for money, just maybe a second chance. Maybe we could reconnect. If not for me, maybe for Lily." No date, no signature, just the heavy weight of too late. I folded the letter once, then twice. I did not cry. There was a time I would have read that letter under covers, in silence, and begged myself to believe in redemption. But I was not that woman anymore. I was not waiting on a doorbell or holding my breath for an apology. I had built something else now. So I pulled out a small card, one of those blank ones with a painted sunflower on the front. I wrote only one line inside. The home I built wasn't with walls, it was with memory. That doesn't need repairing. No scolding, no venom, no invitation, just truth. I placed it in an envelope and mailed it to the address listed on one of their old PTA mailers. I didn't know if they still lived there. I didn't need to. That night, I made a pot of tea. The mint had started blooming in my windowsill garden. I crushed a leaf between my fingers and dropped it into the cup. Then I sat in my armchair by the window, the soft sun still lingering on the edge of the porch. Outside, the maple tree rustled gently, birds hopped through the grass, the world turned. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I had to be seen to be free. I just was. Peace doesn't need applause, and healing doesn't ask for recognition. Sometimes, the loudest freedom is the one no one sees, the kind you feel in your bones, in your breath, in the warmth of your own quiet home. And that, finally, was enough. There is a kind of freedom that does not come from money. I had to lose almost everything to understand that. Because for all the headlines, for all the digital noise and public sympathy, what stayed with me most was not the number on the check, but the stillness that followed it. No more proving, no more explaining, no more asking to be believed, just being. And in that being, something surprising bloomed. Time. Time to wake slowly. To make my tea with fresh mint from my window garden. To read old letters I had never had the energy to answer. To listen to music I used to love when I was too busy raising someone else's dream to remember my own. One afternoon, I pulled out a cardboard box I had carried with me since the day I was pushed out of that house. I had never unpacked it. Inside were little scraps of a life I once lived. Ryan's first report card. A crayon drawing of our family, where he had labeled me Queen Mama. A Valentine's Day card from my late husband, with his uneven cursive that always looked like it was running from something. I held it to my chest and wept, not because I missed them, but because I remembered myself in them, the woman I had been before I became someone's burden, someone's shame, someone's excuse. She was still there. Underneath all the grief, she had survived. She had bought a lottery ticket with the last $5 in her grocery envelope, not because she expected to win, but because hope is a habit too. She had smiled when she signed the back, because she always did. And when everything was taken from her, she did not beg, she remembered. She remembered who she was. I began volunteering at the library. Angela, the kind-eyed librarian who had once handed me tissues when I read that awful post Dana made, asked if I wanted to help sort the senior book donations. I said yes. Every Wednesday I show up at 10 a.m., armed with homemade scones and old stories. I sit with women like me, some quieter, some louder, all of them with something in their eyes that says, I've been through something. We trade books, recipes, secrets we never told our children. They never ask about the money. They just pass me the sugar and listen when I speak. That is wealth. One afternoon, Lily came with a group of kids on a school field trip. She did not see me, but I saw her. She was taller now, her hair longer, her eyes just like Ryan's when he was 6 and asked if clouds had names. She stood in the poetry aisle, reading Rupi Kaur with her head tilted the way I used to when I stitched embroidery, and for a moment I wanted to call her name, but I didn't. Because sometimes love is letting them find you when they're ready. And if she ever is, I will still be here. On the back porch I planted a rose bush, not red, but white. My husband once told me white roses were brave. They bloomed without needing attention. They simply appeared, soft and whole. I tend to them every morning, in silence. I have no desire to move again, no interest in a bigger place. This house fits me now. I know every floorboard, every creak, and when the light hits the living room just right, I sit in my chair and watch the dust dance like it's trying to remember joy. I never replace the photograph. The one above the mantel is still the same. Me holding that ticket, a small smirk on my face, a glint in my eye that says, You thought I would break, but I didn't. I bent. I bent until I became something stronger than steel. And beneath it, the plaque still reads, "They toasted their luck, I cashed the truth." People think revenge is loud, that it comes in slamming doors and courtroom showdowns, but the deepest revenge? It's quiet. It's dignified. It's choosing peace over performance. It's refusing to let those who broke you define what you do with the pieces. So I knit, I read, I laugh, I live. I live in a home built from memory, not apologies. And when the tea is hot and the light is right, I remember who I am and who I'll never let them turn me into again. Thank you for sitting with me through this story. It is not an easy one to tell, but stories like mine often aren't. They are the stories that unfold behind closed doors, the ones that never made the photo albums, the ones we carried in silence because we thought silence was survival. But I have learned something, late perhaps, but clearly. Silence might protect peace, but truth defends dignity. I told this story not for pity and not for revenge. I told it for the woman listening right now, who's been made to feel invisible, in her own kitchen, in her own family, in her own name. I told it for every mother who gave more than she had, only to be written out of the happy ending. And I told it because when we say nothing, they write the story for us. Well, not anymore. On this channel, Grandma True Stories, we remember what they hoped we'd forget. We speak softly, but we say everything. If you found something in this story that echoed in your chest, whether it reminded you of someone you loved, someone you lost, or someone you finally walked away from, I hope you'll stay with us. Subscribe to Grandma True Stories, because here we tell the truths that don't go viral, but stay in your heart. We speak not with bitterness, but with backbone. We don't scream, we remember. So pull up a chair, pour some tea, and let's keep telling the stories they thought we'd take to our graves. We didn't. We brought them here, so the world would finally listen, and we're just getting started.